we do have breaking details coming into the newsroom in the trial of Karmelo Anthony. Putting this on your screen, Brooke Taylor, Fox News correspondent, saying the judge in the Karmelo Anthony trial just released evidence, including body camera footage showing the moments an officer took him into custody after the stabbing. Anthony is heard saying, quote, "He put his hands on me. I told him not to. He put his hands on me."
What if I told you that one of the most controversial cases in America just took another dramatic turn? For months, people argued online. Some claimed it was self-defense. Others insisted it was murder. Millions of views, thousands of debates, and countless theories flooded social media. But now, newly released surveillance footage and police bodycam video have finally been made public following the conviction of Karmelo Anthony in the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at a Texas track meet. The footage shows the chaotic moments before, during, and after the incident that shocked the nation. Tonight, we're breaking down exactly what the footage shows, what happened that day, why the jury rejected the self-defense argument, and why people are still debating this case even after a guilty verdict. Because once you see the timeline laid out from beginning to end, you may look at this case very differently. Before we begin, if you're interested in true crime documentaries that go beyond the headlines and examine the evidence, subscribe and turn on notifications. Let's get into it. April 2nd, 2025. Frisco, Texas. A high school track meet was underway. Students from multiple schools had gathered to compete. Parents filled the stands. Coaches moved between events. For most people there, it was supposed to be an ordinary day. Nobody could have imagined it would end in tragedy. According to court testimony and evidence presented at trial, tensions began under a team tent during a weather delay. 17-year-old Austin Metcalf and 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony became involved in a confrontation. What happened next would become the subject of one of the most closely watched criminal trials in recent memory. Within moments, Austin Metcalf had been stabbed. Emergency responders rushed to the scene. Students screamed. Witnesses called 911, and a young man's life was slipping away. Almost immediately, social media exploded. People picked sides before all the evidence had even been released. One side argued that Anthony had acted in self-defense. The other argued that the stabbing was completely unjustified. Videos, screenshots, witness statements, and rumors spread across platforms. The debate grew larger than the courtroom itself. Every new detail became a battleground. Every court filing became national news. The case wasn't just about what happened under that tent. It became a broader discussion about self-defense laws, youth violence, accountability, and the reliability of eyewitness testimony. And through it all, one question remained. What would the video evidence reveal? For months, much of the public had not seen the surveillance footage presented during the trial. That changed after Anthony's conviction. Following the trial, a judge authorized the release of evidence, including surveillance footage and police body camera recordings. The surveillance video is distant and somewhat difficult to interpret. However, investigators and prosecutors argued it supports the timeline presented in court. The footage shows activity beneath the tent where the confrontation occurred. Moments later, Anthony can be seen leaving the area and moving away from the tent. What immediately drew attention online was how quickly everything appeared to happen. The confrontation lasted only seconds. Then chaos erupted. Students began reacting. People ran. Confusion spread throughout the venue. For many viewers, the footage raised as many questions as it answered. Because while the video shows movement and reactions, it doesn't provide a crystal clear view of every action underneath the tent. That's why prosecutors relied on witness testimony, forensic evidence, and additional footage throughout the trial. If the surveillance video sparked discussion, the bodycam footage intensified it. Police body camera footage captured Anthony shortly after the stabbing. In the footage, officers detain him while investigating what happened. One statement immediately became headline news. According to the released bodycam footage, Anthony can be heard saying, "I'm not alleged. I did it." The footage also captures emotional moments during the arrest. Anthony appears distressed and repeatedly discusses the confrontation. At one point, he reportedly tells officers, "He put his hands on me. I told him not to." Supporters of Anthony argue these statements are consistent with a self-defense claim. Critics argue the statements do not justify the use of deadly force, and that disagreement would become central to the trial. When the case finally went before a jury, prosecutors and defense attorneys presented two very different narratives. The defense argued that Anthony feared for his safety. They maintained he acted in self-defense during the confrontation. Prosecutors argued the evidence showed something entirely different. They claimed Anthony escalated the encounter and used deadly force when it was not justified. Jurors reviewed surveillance footage. They listened to witness testimony. They examined physical evidence. And they heard arguments from both sides. After deliberating, the jury rejected the self-defense claim. Anthony was convicted of murder and later sentenced to 35 years in prison. The verdict ended the trial, but it did not end the debate. Following the conviction, reactions were immediate. Some believed justice had been served. Others argued the sentence was excessive. Anthony's legal team moved forward with an appeal process after the conviction. Meanwhile, the release of the evidence reignited discussions across social media. Thousands of people who had only heard descriptions of the footage were finally able to see portions of it for themselves. And just as before, people interpreted it differently. Some saw confirmation of the prosecution's case. Others believed unanswered questions remained. That is often the reality in major criminal cases. Evidence rarely ends public debate. Sometimes it intensifies it. One of the most important lessons from this case is the difference between public opinion and courtroom evidence. Social media focuses on clips. Courts focus on the entire body of evidence. Jurors don't just watch a video. They hear testimony. They review forensic reports. They examine timelines. They weigh credibility. And ultimately, that's what happened here. The released footage provides important context, but it was only one piece of a much larger puzzle. The jury's decision was based on everything presented during the trial, not just a few seconds of surveillance video. Now that the footage has been released, the conversation surrounding this case is far from over. Some viewers believe the video confirms the jury got it right. Others believe it leaves room for debate. But one thing is certain. A tragic confrontation changed multiple families forever, and no verdict can undo that. What do you think? Did the newly released footage change your opinion of the case? Or did it reinforce what you already believed? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown informative, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications because we cover the biggest true crime cases, courtroom developments, and breaking evidence releases as soon as they happen. And remember, in true crime, the loudest story isn't always the most accurate one. The evidence is what matters. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next case.